Hey there, friends. In my quest to share cool things with you, I have found a better way to run my master bus. And it was getting to the point where I felt like it was overprocessed, and I thought that going back to more analog principles were probably going to open things up and make them simpler and thus better. That was the idea. And then I realized that you can hear a lot of good intentioned advice from people on the interwebs, and some are more valuable than others, obviously. But when it starts building up, it tends to not just clog up your brain, but it clogs up your mixes, in my opinion. I also think that probably 90% of influencers that I've seen are wrong. I don't know if they actually work every day in studios or in recording sessions at a very high professional level. But a lot of the times, the things they're telling you are just, they're well-intentioned. They're well-intentioned, but they're making it more complicated and thus cluttered and choked. So, to wit, I'm going to show you what I did to my master bus to make it less choked. It ended up making it more open, more detailed, more flowing, more green. It opened it up. It gave it more definition. It gave it more detail, in my opinion. And I'm going to show you how you can do this with a free plugin. You've heard me talk about Plugin Doctor before. Plugin Doctor is not free. It's not expensive. And it does more than the plugin I'm going to show you, because the Plugin Doctor, it'll show you saturation and all kinds of things, as well as EQ curves. Because every plugin, especially if it's modeled, it has a natural curve to it, or it's whatever character it's trying to bring. However, this will get you most of the way there, and it's free. And this plugin is called the EQ Curve Analyzer by Bertom, B-E-R-T-O-M, the EQ Curve Analyzer. It's free. What you have to do, I have it up here on the screen. What you have to do is insert it twice. The first one ends up acting as a signal generator. It's basically just sending tone through your chain. And then you put a second version of it at the end of your chain. And as you can see on the screen, the second version is the culmination of what is happening in my chain now. I've got a little low bump, a little low roll off where it needs to be roll off, a little low mid to upper boost. Yeah, and it's nice. It sounds better than it looks even. And this is free. So you can download this from Bertom EQ Curve Analyzer 2. However, you won't be able to hear your audio with both of them engaged. If you bypass one, it bypasses both of them, which is a beautiful thing. Then you can hear the audio and hear the difference based on the changes you have made in your chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these off, and I'm going to play the audio before what I've brought in. And let me show you first what I've got going on. So I've got an instance of Soothe 2, which I call the Master Bus Low Cleanup. It's really just addressing very tightly the low end below like 250. Yeah, below 250. And it's set to hard. Those settings on the screen, as you can see, are what's going on there. And it works great. It's just like conditioning and smoothing out the low end a little bit. And I'll show you when I play the audio what it's doing when I take out the EQ analyzer. Then I have one more instance of Soothe. And this is something I wouldn't do in the past, is use Soothe all that much. However, as a conditioner and a resonance frequency adapter, if you will, it's kind of taking out the worst of the resonance without going crazy. What you have here is another instance of it where it's dealing with the low mids and it's taking out the super duper high resonances, but it's not killing them. Like, we've gone resonance crazy in music. So if you start EQing them and then using Soothe and then using a resonance thing, before you know it, like, it sounds horrible, because resonances are in music. Sometimes you want to tame them, especially if stuff has been recorded poorly, but you don't want to destroy it. So what I've found is by doing the low end cleanup with Soothe in one instance, and then this in the next instance, I don't need any EQ. Basically, my mix better sound good going in before this, or I've got problems. So that's 1 and 2. Number 3, here's a great plugin. This is the new Purified 5420. It's like a saturation, thermionic sort of tapey. It's hard to put your finger on it, but when you hear what it sounds and when you see what it does in the analyzer, you're like, okay, that's why it sounds good. And I've got the character way down low, so I'm not adding a ton of distortion. I'm just looking for some flavor. And it really does it well. And it has a natural curve to it, which is the other reason it sounds great. So that's number 3. Number 4, and by the way, let me mention that this Purified 5420 is $4.20 right now. Yeah, I'm not kidding. It's $4.20. Check it out. It's a steal. And then I've got this Virelia, which is a master quality EQ and compression module for the master bus. That's what it's made for by Mixland. And it's only $50, but it sounds like 10 times that. It's incredible. And I'm using the tube saturation as well as a little compression, but fairly, kind of transparently, moderately, because I don't want to overdo it, because I'll probably compress it maybe in mastering. And that's the whole purpose of this. I thought that like stuff was coming through way too processed before mastering. There's basically nothing I can't do with mastering, but I can't take away things that are already there. So the more open and natural and detailed they are before any mastering engineer gets there, the better they're going to be. So Virelia is the only instance of real EQ, of a real EQ module. I'm going to add some Baxandall and stuff in a minute, but so there's just very, very gentle, like some low sculpting, and you'll see it in the analyzer, some mid sculpting and some high sculpting, and there's some THD, total harmonic distortion, but not much, very gentle, and that all has an effect on the curve. It sounds fantastic. So that's what's next. And then after that, I've got some, I wish I could make this bigger, but let me put this in the middle of the screen. It's a Dangerous Bax EQ, a Baxandall, and I'm cutting like 18 high passing at around 18 hertz, adding a low shelf at around like 82, and I'm adding a high shelf at like around 8, and it's doing some lovely things. These are in stereo, so it's everything in this band Axel is a stereo module. So cutting below 18 hertz, adding a little low shelf at 82-ish, and a high shelf, more of a high shelf in stereo at around 8K. And then after that, and this was the last thing I added, because this is a new thing. I've had the Clariphonic by Kush for years and years. I had the version Mark 1. I've had the Mark 2. The Mark 3 just came out. If you have the Mark 2, there's an upgrade fee. Yeah, I know. But it's worth it because it now does mid-side. And as you can see here, you can see what it's doing in the analyzer within the plugin. So I've got it set to just doing the side. It's just doing the side and not the mid. And it sounds gorgeous in conjunction with the Dangerous Backs doing the stereo lift above 8K. So with that all said, that all looks like, let me turn this back on. So that's what it looks like at the end of the chain in the Bertom EQ Analyzer 2. So now I'm going to play it so you can hear it before and after everything in the chain. And I can't turn things on one at a time and let you hear it, but I can turn things on one at a time to let you see how they affect this final curve. So let's do that. Let's listen to everything without anything on it first, and then this is that demo I did of the modulation pedal the other day. It's just the audio that was recorded direct in, and I'll play it without anything and then slowly bring in everything and then show you what everything looks like without audio one at a time. All right, let's do it. So there you have before and after. I don't know if you could tell. It's a subtle thing, but it's actually not so subtle. You can even feel it. And I suggest you put on headphones and go through that again and watch me turn them on and off and then off again. It's pretty significant. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on these I'm going to turn on the Bertoms again, right? So there's the second Bertom in the center of the screen. And as I do, I'm going to introduce one at a time each module that I'm using. So the Soothe aren't going to do anything pretty much without anything running through it. You know, adding a little gain, it seems, maybe a little bit by about a dB. And then as soon as you add, this is the Purified. So as soon as you add the Purified, because I'll show you now, we'll take the Purified out, we're flat. You put that purified in, and this is what it's adding with my preset. And it's quite nice. That's a beautiful little curve. And there's some saturation going on as well. Then you bring in the Virelia model, and it kind of conditions it even more here. So let me turn it off. Yeah. It defines the low and the top a little bit more. Then you bring in the Bandaxol. And again, the top more than the bottom, but both. And then the Clariphonics last. Boom. Now, remember what you're seeing there with the Clariphonics is the sides. That top being opened up is only the sides. Now, you can do it mid-side. You can do it mid and not side. But I just felt like adding a little bit more on the sides on the top really lent itself well. So that's the Bertom EQ Curve Analyzer. And that's how you can make your mix bus do more with less. I'm only running, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plugins, but one plugin is 2 instances of it, Soothe. So it's really 5 plugins with 6 inserts, and it made my mix bus 50% better. And I'm barely EQing anything. I'm not doing all these like tweaks and dips and cuts and everything. I'm just using broad, passive-esque curves or Bandaxol curves to kind of shape it, and then making the top and the bottom more defined and open, and then letting some saturation and compression do the rest. And very little compression. It's just one compressor. And Soothe is kind of, when you run, I'll show you, hold on a second. Let's get rid of these. Yeah, so if I bypass those, you'll see, let me show you what the Soothe is doing. That's the low. And here's the top. And you'll see as I run audio through it, what it's doing. So it's definitely grabbing the mids, but it is conditioning and grabbing some of the lows and balancing it, thus why you're not EQing into all those other modules. It's doing all the work for you, and it's eliminating the resonances without destroying them altogether. And I feel like, I know it may be hard to tell through the data compression and everything, or even with headphones, but Mark, believe me, it's making a huge difference in the end result, where I don't need that much more I don't need to fix it in mastering, and I probably don't need to do as much in mastering because it's more open and detailed for me. So let me know if that trick works for you, and pick up that free plugin and pick up that $4.20 purified saturator device, the 5420. Pretty good for $4.20. Oh, and that Mixland Virelia, $50 right now, an introductory price. That's a keeper. All right, thanks for watching.